Hello and welcome back to Crafted by Corie. If you're new, I'm Corie. Welcome to my channel, and if you're returning, thank you as always for being here. I appreciate you so much. I am super excited today because I am going to be doing sublimation for the very first time. I want to thank my friends at Hiipoo for sending me this Epson printer. I'm going to get into how to set it up for the very first time. Clearly mine is still in the box, so we'll do this together. And then they also sent me a sublimation paper as well as sublimation ink. So super excited to get working on this. Let's go ahead and jump right in. Don't mind my glasses. I apologize if I've got a little bit of a glare with my lights in here so you can actually see what I'm doing, but I have to be able to see what I'm doing also quite literally. So I'm going to go ahead and get the box open and then we'll jump right into getting it set up. Okay, now we have it all out of the packaging. You can clearly see that it has a scanner top to it. And this is, I should have told you before, this is the EcoTank ET 2800 that they've sent me. And it does come with its own Epson ink. We are not going to be using this though, because this is regular ink for the color printer if you were going to be printing traditionally. So I'll set that aside in case I ever need it in the future, but we're going to be using the sublimation ink. So let's go ahead and open up the booklet that tells us how to get this started. It does come with a CD-ROM. I don't have a CD-ROM reader in my laptop anymore, so I'm sure that there is a way to do this with using online services. I imagine that that's for the drivers. It does say the ET2800 series software logistics, but I'm going to set that aside because I know I'm not going to be able to use that. If you have a CD-ROM drive with your computer, you'll probably want to make sure that you hold on to that and use that instead when it gets to that point. Okay. So we've got it all unpacked. We've removed all of the blue tape, which is really important. That's just for it to not get jostled around during shipping. And now we're going to want to go ahead and get it turned on. So we can actually download the Epson Smart Panel app from our device, onto our device from the App Store. And of course, I'm using my phone. So we're going to launch the app and follow the instructions. So I'm going to have to figure out, I've got a second camera going here, and of course I'm using my cell phone to do that. I will be right back because I am going to have to switch it out with a different camera so that you can see some of the sideways stuff. And that's what happens when I try to get fancy, you guys. I always end up needing the phone that I'm using to record with. So I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. I think we've got everything resolved here. All right, so it wants me to download the Epson Smart Panel app onto my phone. And it actually does have a QR code. There we go. So if you're not familiar with QR codes, it's this little funny box right here. And if you use your phone and you open up your camera and you position it onto that little square, your camera will automatically recognize it as a QR code, and it'll provide a link that you can click on right on your camera visual, if you will, and it'll take you to the website that's linked to that QR code. So this has taken me into Epson for the Smart Panel app, and I am going to download the Android app because I have an Android phone. So it's taken me right into my Google Play, and I'm going to click on install. And once that is all set, we'll be able to go ahead and start setting up the printer. While it's doing that, I'm going to go ahead and open up my power cord because I did not plug this puppy in yet. So it just comes with a regular power cord with one end. Obviously we'll need to hook into the printer itself, and then we'll plug in the other end, and we'll be cooking with gas, or electricity in this case. Okay, now that we're plugged in, we can go ahead and hit the power button. That's lighting up green for me. I know that we are working here. And then we're supposed to launch the app and follow the instructions to set up the product. So I'm going to go ahead and click on open on the app, and I'm going to follow the instructions. If a confirmation screen about location information is displayed, enable the location information feature on your smartphone and allow this app to access the location information. If you are able to select the accuracy level, select accurate. And this is important because this is a Wi-Fi enabled printer. So if I want to be able to use it wirelessly, it's going to have to know where I am and be able to access my network. And so in order to share my location, I can tell it that I only want it to know where I am when I'm using the app. Only this time, or I can disallow it. I'm going to say while using the app, because otherwise I'm going to have to give it permission every single time I want to use it, and that's just going to be a little bit of a pain for me. If that's your preference, you certainly can do it that way. So it is searching for the products. Would you like to check if your product is supported? Well, oh, it wants me to say, okay, so I'm going to select English. Sorry, the panel on here is now asking me questions. So it wants me to select my language. Finish setup using Epson Smart Panel app. Yes, because I have that open. There's the QR code again. So it's showing me right on the front of the printer, the QR code. Here we go. Now it's finding it, the ET2800 series. So I just didn't have the printer ready to go. So when you turn on your printer, just make sure you check that front panel. Learn from my mistakes. Check the front panel, follow any instructions that are there as well, and then you'll be able to get moving. So I'm going to select the ET2800 series. I am sure that I want to select it. Yes. All right, let's get ready for ink initialization. So we will guide you step by step. I'm going to hit continue before we start. Make sure to follow these rules. Stay in front of the printer. Do not turn off the printer while setting it up. Okay. Setting up the printer from Epson Smart Panel. Do not turn the power off. Alrighty. Let's start with the ink. Then open the ink tank cover. Okay, so we're going to open the ink tank cover. I believe, aha, just like that. Okay, we're going to prepare the ink starting with the black. We're going to open the black ink tank cap marked BK. So we're going to open that just like that. And then the tank has an upper line. Let me see. And when the ink reaches the line, it automatically stops flowing from the bottle, so don't worry. Okay. We're going to remove the black ink bottle from the package. If any ink remains in the bottle, tighten the cap and store the bottle upright for later. So I'm going to go ahead and get out my inks. These are the inks from Hiipoo, right? And these are what I'm going to be using for sublimation. These are special sublimation inks. So, a reminder, they look similar, but these are just for regular printing. They will not sublimate. So you want to use your sublimation ink. All right. And once you have created, but set up a printer as a sublimation ink printer, you're not going to be able to do regular printing on it. I have heard that there are ways to convert it back to a regular printer. It's a matter of cleaning all of the ink out of it and running regular ink through it until it gets to the point where it can be used again. But generally speaking, once a sublimation printer, always a sublimation printer. So I'm gonna, this is an unscrew. So it doesn't specify, but it looks to me like I just flip it over, press the little tip down onto the little plastic knob that's sitting up, and that it should fill. Yes. Okay, hopefully this is working. Yep, I can see it starting to fill in. It's got a little window here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but there's a little window here that's showing that the ink is starting to fill in. And this is great because you can also keep an eye on your ink levels as you go. Repeat the process to fill the remaining ink tanks and make sure the color of the ink bottle and the ink tank match. That's super important. You want to make sure you put the yellow in the yellow tank, the magenta in the magenta tank and cyan in the cyan tank. That cyan is the blue, because otherwise when you print stuff, your colors are going to be completely messed up if you put the wrong color in the wrong tank, right? And that's totally something that I would do if I weren't paying attention. So let's be careful. This is going to be our yellow next. And we're going to do it the same way. Just press this down. There we go. And give it a chance to fill. So I'll go ahead and get the rest of these filled up and I'll be right back with you. Maybe I'll just speed it up here. All right, now that I have all of the ink tanks filled, I'm going to go ahead and say yes, they're all filled. Close the ink cover. This really walks you through step by step. It's fantastic. If all ink tanks are not filled with ink before you continue, you may damage the printer. Are all ink tanks filled with ink? I'm checking again. Yes, they are all filled. Let's start the ink initialization. Clicking on start. Well, it says that this takes about 11 minutes to complete, so I think I'm going to come right back in a few. Okay, my initialization is complete. I'm going to go ahead and hit continue. So while the ink is initializing, I guess I didn't realize I could go ahead and hit continue. So just so that you know, if you decide to do this and you've got the same Epson printer, you don't have to wait until it's done initializing to hit continue on the app. Because it's saying while it's initializing, let's go ahead and connect the printer to the Wi-Fi. Who knew you could do it at the same time? So you might save yourself a step or a little bit of time. Connect the printer to Wi-Fi, yes. And it's saying that the password is required. Okay, Wi-Fi setup is complete. The smartphone and printer are connected. Woohoo! It's giving me a big thumbs up. I love that. Reminder, give me a big thumbs up if you're finding this video helpful. Setup is complete and the printer is ready to use. That's so exciting. Follow the instructions on the printer's control panel to check the print quality of your printer. I'm going to hit OK on the printer. Perform a print head nozzle check to check the print quality. All right, so I imagine I need print or paper for this. I'm just going to use regular printer paper because I don't want to waste my sublimation paper on just testing the printer. So I'll be right back. All right, so we've got our paper set. I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. Let me see, previous settings, letter, plain paper, confirm. Perform a print head nozzle checkup. Print, okay. Load letter, size plain paper, I did. Oh, and then I need to hit the go button to print, the print button, this button. There we go. All right, so let's go ahead and get started with our first project. And I am just going to create something off of Canva real quick so that we can do some sort of fun little something here. I have no idea how this is going to work, but we're going to give it a shot. Okay, I'm going to drop my sublimation paper in. And I've got a couple of sheets here, even though I'm only printing one for right now. And I've got it opened up in my app. I'm going to click on print and we'll see what happens. Now this is a full color photo. I have no idea what it's going to do, so we'll see. It's sending to the printer. It's about 75% done. So it was suggesting that I had a paper mismatch. I guess it knows that it's not actual copy paper. We'll see what it does. Okay, so it printed. It looks actually quite lovely the way that it printed. And I understand that with sublimation, the colors are actually going to print duller than when you actually apply them to your surface. So considering how vivid I personally think this looks, I'm excited to see what it looks like after we sublimate it. Okay, so now for the sublimation, you do need to have a surface on which you can press your image onto your substrate. Now you can do sublimation on all different kinds of substrates, so fabric, mugs, t-shirts, all different kinds of things. For fabric, I do understand that you are going to be most successful when you're using polyester. This right here is a leftover piece because this is my very first time sublimating, so I wanted to be able to test it here. But I'm using a leftover piece of Crafter's Square DIY cloth. Now, this, it doesn't say on the package, and I was going a little crazy trying to find out what the fiber content was, and then realized that it's on a little tag here on the fabric itself. And so this particular product is 64% polyester and 36% cotton. I understand that usually the higher the polyester content, the more success you're going to have. Usually I think I've heard 75% or higher is best. So this is a little low on the polyester content, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway. Because again, this is my very first time trying to do sublimation, and yeah, so we're just going to give it a go. Now on the Hiipoo Sublimation paper box, it's going to tell you exactly what the temperatures are. Now they have these ranges, I imagine they just vary a little bit depending on your device and whether you have a heat press or if you're using a Cricut Easy Press like I'm going to be doing here. But for fabric, so textile applications, they are recommending 380 to 420 degrees Fahrenheit for 35 to 40 seconds. So, and with medium pressure. So you just want to be pressing a little bit on the press. So I'm going to go ahead and set mine to 400, which is going to be right smack in the middle of their recommendation. And while that's heating up, I'm going to go ahead, and I've also heard that if you tear around the edges, you won't get a hard press line around your image. So I'm just going to go ahead and tear this away and see if we, whoops, you don't want to tear the image itself like I just tried to do. So be careful not to get too close to it. But I've heard that if you don't do this, you can get a really solid crease line around surrounding your image. And maybe that would come out over time, but why take chances if we don't have to, right? So I've got that done like that. Now, I clearly don't have a margin here to do it for this part, so I'm going to leave that be. And I have a little stain on this fabric, so I'm going to turn it, and I'm going to use this piece. And y'all know how I am with my little pillows. I'm just going to make a decorative little pillow. At least that's my intention with this. Now, for this first piece, I opted not to put words on it. And that being that I was in a hurry because I wanted to get right to sublimating. And so I did this in Canva on my phone. And in the Canva app, you can't mirror text. So, and when you're sublimating, you have to mirror any text you're going to be putting on something because we're going to be pressing it face down onto our fabric. And so if you don't mirror your text, when you pull it up, your text is going to be mirrored and it's going to look backwards. So for your image, if you're going to have text on your image, just make sure you remember mirror your text and then you'll be good to go. So I'm going to get this all lined up here. One other thing that I had not thought about, you probably want to be using butcher paper. I do not have butcher paper, and that's to protect, and I don't know if that with 100% certainty. It does not say that on the instructions on the box. But just having watched a lot of what I have watched online, trying to learn a little bit more about sublimation, I'm thinking butcher paper is probably a good idea. I do have parchment paper. I don't think it is as thick as butcher paper, so I'm just going to use multiple sheets. So while I'm waiting for this to heat up, I'm going to grab my parchment paper. All right, and that's all heated and ready to go. But as I mentioned, you want to use butcher paper. That would be my recommendation, to protect your press from getting any ink on it and protect anything else that you don't want to have ink on. Now, my image is small enough that one of these folded sheets is going to be sufficient. Sorry, I have someone trying to call me. And I can fold it again. So now I've got a 4-sheet thickness going on here with my parchment paper. Again, you want to use butcher paper, but I'm going to be using my parchment in a pinch and just layering it up for added protection. I brought myself some extra sheets because I didn't realize it was going to be sufficient to cover it this way. All right. And you just don't want any ink to get on anything that you don't want it on. It's essentially why we do this. All right. So I've got this all set. You can use heat-resistant tape to keep it in place, but I'm just going to be real careful here. Let me center this a little bit more for my heat press. There we go. Make sure this is still where I want it. It appears to be nice and lined up. Okay. And we're going to be pressing this for 35 to 40 seconds. So I am going to set the time to 40 seconds. And then I'm going to go ahead and go for it with medium pressure per the instructions, setting this down and pressing my go button. And it is starting the countdown. So I'm just applying slight pressure to my press, and then we'll see what happens when we pick this little thing up in just a minute. So, well, less than a minute. But I'll go ahead and speed it up here for you so you don't have to sit through the next 20 seconds waiting. Okay, set that aside. I'm excited but nervous. You want to be careful not to burn yourself. So this will be very, very hot, right? We were just doing this at 400 degrees. This is hot. So just be very careful. Not bad. Okay, so I highly recommend using the tape because it did kind of move on me a little bit and created ghosting. But I am actually really excited for this having been my very first time. And you can see here is the printout again. And look at this, you guys. How fun. Super, super fun. I think the setting was a little bit hot for my fabric. So if I use this again, I will lower it to the 380 and I will try it at that temperature because it's a little crispy. I mean, it's fine, it's not scorched, but had I left it on any longer it would have been. So that is one reason, I suppose, they have those ranges for you to test and try and learn what's going to work best for the material that you're working with. So let's go ahead and finish off this project. I'm going to trim this up. And with having torn the paper, I do not have harsh lines around it. I can see a little bit where the edge of the paper was, but there's no harsh line there. But I can see how there might have been had that not been done. And I am going to go ahead and press the rest of this so that it's the same as the other piece. I'll just give it a few seconds on here. All right, there we go. So now my fabric is uniform for my little thing that I'm doing here. And then you can sew this, or you can use your hot glue gun, whatever makes your heart happy. And you do not want to reuse your parchment paper that you use for this, just in case it does have ink on it. You wouldn't want to ruin another project. Now I will keep these sheets because I can use them under my paint, because if I spill paint on them, I'm good with that. It's not going to hurt my project, right? But the rest, if you just don't use it on additional sublimation projects, or you could end up with extra ink where you don't want it. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and put my pillow together here. I'm just gonna run a bead of hot glue right along the edge of my design. Be very careful not to burn yourself. Gonna give that a second to cool, and then flip it right side out. And I just had a really cute little thought. I totally could have glued in a little ribbon at each of these corners, and it would have had a little hanging. It could have been a little hanging pillow, but I didn't think about it until it was too late. So there's an idea for you anyway. Polyfill, and I'm gonna stuff my little pillow. I might have grabbed too much, let's see. Making sure I get it into all of the little corners. There we go. And I'm gonna fold this down over top of it here. And I'm gonna be able to seal this up. And it makes it so much easier having those edges pressed than trying to seal this up when they are not. I am printing off the next image for my next project. Alright, well, I didn't execute real well on this little pillow, but the sublimation part is fantastic. So, but this is just a little something I can stick on my little shelf or have by my desk and just remind me of how great it will be next time I get to go to the lake. But yeah, but again, this was my first time doing a sublimation, so I am bound to get better. And like I said, the execution on the pillow part, that has nothing to do with sublimation. That's just me being me. So, all right, I'm going to go ahead and put my glue gun off to the side, out of the way. You guys, I'm over here trying not to freak out because I am so excited about what just came out of this printer. And if you've been following me for a while, you are familiar with my pup Sammy. Look at this! So you can clearly print off pictures. So if you want to put, you know, your grandkids on a t-shirt or whatever it is, this is my fur baby. And it printed out so sweet. I cannot wait to add Sammy's little face to something here. Let me grab what I'm going to use. So I have this shirt that I'm going to use, and we are going to do our best to press Sammy's face on it. I'm so excited. That's so cool. Okay. And I know I already have t-shirts with his little face on it, but I just love him so much. All right. I am going to tear off the edges here. And maybe that'll also help create a fun kind of design around him on the shirt rather than just having a square of background around him. So let me see if I can do this without causing any damage. Thinking about how I want this to look. I'm going to try not to touch the ink because I don't know what that will do if I get fingerprints on it. My little love bug. There we go. So he's torn up, so I've torn a piece away from all of his little face and chest area. I need my press mat again. I have my shirt. I did reduce the heat on my press to 380 degrees, and I am going to go ahead and I'm going to give this a quick press real quick, just for like 5 seconds to maybe 10. Okay, so I've pressed it. And the other thing I almost forgot, you always want to lint roll these, because if you get any kind of fibers, and I'm noticing there are little tiny black fibers on here, probably from these sleeves, you want to make sure you get rid of all of that, because otherwise it'll kind of ghost in your image, and you don't want that. We want our image to look really good. So, also going to use my parchment paper. I am going to grab some more because I'm going to want to have probably at least 3 or 4 sheets underneath so that nothing bleeds through to the other side of the shirt. I'm going to put these inside the shirt to protect it. Okay, so I have my parchment paper in the shirt, and that's going to protect it, and I'm going to roll it, lint roll it, and just make sure that everything is nice and as clean as can be. And we don't have any of those little fibers that interfere. Now I'm going to go ahead and apply Sammy's sweet little face. Just make sure I know how I want him positioned. Yep. Just like that. And I saw somebody else say to do it like 3 fingers down. I'm going to do more like, there we go. I guess that's about 3 fingers down from the top of the image itself. I was thinking from his head, it's more like 4 or 5 fingers, but I think that's good. And then I'm going to apply my heat resistant tape so that he doesn't move. There. There. Slightly longer piece down at the bottom. Okay. And I think I'm going to use my press vertically instead of horizontally. Now, I am only going to do it for 35 seconds because the last time everything got a little crispy. Now, granted, that particular material wasn't exactly the polyester content that we would have liked, so it might have had something to do with that, but I'm going to be cautious and I'm going to reset my time to 35 seconds, and I've got it at 380 degrees, and I'm going to go ahead and do this now. I'm going to set this right there. Ooh. And press my button. It's a little slippery. I'm applying medium pressure, and I'll go ahead and speed through this so you don't have to sit through the next 23 seconds. I lifted it straight up because I don't want to risk smearing it. Okay, I'm nervous. I'm excited. All right. Again, it's going to be hot, so just be careful. You guys! This is awesome! This is awesome. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Oh my goodness. Look at this. Give me a second. Let me take the parchment out. Now remember, I'm going to use this not for any more sublimation, but I'll use it for my under my painting when I do projects. Look! How awesome is this? I am in love with sublimation. This is so fun. If I could do this on my very second try, you could do this. This is so cool. And you can print anything. You can design anything. You can put anything on fabric or coasters. I actually brought my coasters out because I'm thinking maybe we'll try that next. So let me design something else real quick and I'll be right back with you. Okay, for this next project, I am in love with these little coasters. So I'm going to be using Sublimation blanks from Cricut. These are coaster blanks. And I did take a little time to design some things. Actually, I leveraged what's in the Cricut Design Studio because I knew that that was going to allow me to mirror my images. I did run into a few other problems. I'm a little determined sometimes. Usually I can be very determined, and I had decided I wanted to try and figure this out on my phone. And so rather than going to my laptop and doing it the easy way, I just was insistent on doing it on my phone. So I designed it in Cricut. I moved it over via screenshot to my Canva, where I was able to actually mirror the images. Normally you can mirror in Cricut, except I have an Android phone, and apparently that's not supported on Android. So long story short, I got these designed. They are mirrored, so you're going to want to make sure that if you're doing anything with words, it's mirrored or it will end up backwards on your project. So I've printed them out in my sublimation ink, putting my glasses back on so I can see myself, see what I'm doing here, cutting these out. And I am going to be applying them to my my coasters. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out. I'm going to speed this along for you so you don't have to suffer along with my cutting. Okay, so I've got them all cut out, and they don't have to be perfect when you cut them out. I just wanted to make sure that I got rid of that black ring that was going around my designs. You can certainly have that black circle around yours if you prefer. It's just personal preference. So I wanted to make sure that I had them cut out close to, but inside that line. And the reason I didn't cut in closer to the images themselves is because I wanted to have a better idea of how I was getting them centered on my sublimation blanks here. Now, I did not tear these, you'll notice, like I did with the others, because this isn't going to be a soft surface, so I don't need to worry about an impression, if you understand what I'm saying. So when I press these, they should be okay. Like it's not going to leave any kind of a mark where the design ends, so to speak. Okay, now with these, you definitely want to lint roll them just like you do the others. So I'm going to lint roll these. And now I'm going to apply my images upside down. And excuse me. Again, you want to make sure that they're mirrored because you're going to be ironing them on this way. And so when you remove your paper, it'll be right side up. And I will be using my tape again, my heat resistant tape. Just getting these all nice and centered. Now I did a different design for each of these. You could certainly make them all the same, make them a set, but I wanted to show you some options. And these all have a theme. The colors aren't all necessarily the same, but it's got a theme that you'll see come through when I show the final reveal on this. Okay. Looks like I can just tape two sides on these. There we go. Okay, I've got these all set. I'm going to get them lined up next to each other, and I'm going to press them all at once with my heat press. So I do want to get some parchment again, just to make sure that I'm protecting my heat press. I haven't noticed a lot of ink bleeding through the paper, maybe just a little bit at the edges where my image had gone all the way to the edge. So I do want to just make sure I'm protecting my press. I also have set it to 380 degrees and 180 seconds per the instructions on the back of the Hiipoo Sublimation paper packaging. I'm going to grab my parchment paper and I will be right back. Okay, I've got two pieces of my parchment paper I'm using just in case. Again, butcher paper is the better thing to use. I don't have butcher paper, I need to invest in some, so I'm using the parchment paper and just making sure that I'm doubling it up. All right, here we go. Again, using medium pressure, and I will go ahead and cut right to the end here because I'm going to be doing this for about 3 minutes. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so our time is up. Now, unlike with the fabric, I am not going to touch these for a little bit because it is ceramic and it is going to be really hot. That is going to have absorbed a lot of the heat, and I don't want to burn myself. And I will burn myself if I try to pull this off right now because that's just how it is with me. But so I'm going to let some time pass and I'll be right back to show you the final reveal. Okay, they're still pretty warm, but they're cool enough that I can handle them. So I'm going to go ahead and see what we've got here. Peeling away the tape, I'm going to make sure I don't smush, like smear it across the image or across the substrate, just to make sure I don't end up with any kind of ghosting. Just trying to get my nails under the tape here. Okay, here we go for the first one. Woo! Oh my goodness, how cute! How cute! There's the first one. Let's see if I can get this one. Wow, look at those colors. So fun. Let's see what we got with this one. If I can get it peeled away. Ooh, this one's a little warmer. Nice. So sweet. And this last one made me chuckle, so this one might be my favorite. Let's see. There we go. Be kind no matter what. Throw kindness around like confetti. If you can be anything, be kind. Have courage and be kind. I think that these are awesome. I love how they came out, and now I've got some coasters for my coffee table. So excited. This was so much fun. I want to thank my friends Hiipoo again for the printer and the ink and the sublimation paper and the opportunity to share this with all of you. So if you're following my theme, ties right into my closing here. Thank you so much for being here. Until the next time, be well, be kind, and make it a great day. Thank you so much for watching. Take good care. Bye.